Hi, all. This is Dr. Daniel Sabol, and welcome to the Cognitive Edge, where insights, innovation, and impact all come together to help teachers and students become the best they could possibly be. I have a special guest again with me today for time number two, and we have a wonderful topic to talk about. It's a big one, and it's something that it's happening right now. We're going to be talking about universal pre-K and how important it is. Let me first start by introducing my guest. This is my wife, Amy Sabol. She is a um, special educator. In addition to that, she's an author of a book about preservation of museum data and information sources. So she has a lot of experience, over 22 years of experience. I'll mention that she did work at a school in the city of Yonkers. That's private, but that does have children that are um, neurocognitively delayed um, to a pretty deep extent. And now she is a public educator in special education. So, my first question, Miss Amy, um, where and how and why, when you were first starting out, did you not want to ever become an educator in the small, like the pre-K and Ks? Because I know some of the districts had them, but they weren't quite as mandated as they are now, or they're going to be soon. So can you talk a little bit about that and how you went up where you were, as opposed to, was there a reason why you went into the grade you went into, or, um, you know, and can you just kind of expand on it first?
Sure. So, right when I started teaching, preschool wasn't in the public schools as much. There were some districts that did offer pre-K, but there were not many like there
Right,
are now. I think
right.
there's almost every district is starting to incorporate it. Um, However, I did start my career as a preschool teacher. I did work in a special education preschool, and I loved
Nice to
it.
know.
And I am an extreme believer in early intervention. And I think getting student services that they need as early as possible is vital in their future success. Um, in terms of where I started when I did enter public school, my degree was at the time, I did have a degree in elementary education, and my special ed degree went from kindergarten all the way to 12th grade at the time, or preschool, I'm sorry, to 12th grade.
Can I just jump in just for a second?
Yes.
Now they've changed that standard, right? Now you can only get K or pre-K through two. They've limited now the amount of grades you can teach. It's not like it used to be where we were
Right.
taught like we were as librarians across the whole K to 12.
Right. You can't.
Okay,
don't
so
do
now
anything.
it's just you either go after the small or the bigger kids.
Yes.
Okay.
So I did do my student teaching in the elementary level. So all of my experience has been at the lower level, anywhere from grades K all the way up through fifth grade, which it is a vast difference because you have like the babies in fifth grade, in
Mhm.
kindergarten that are just starting out, and then the fifth graders,
Yeah.
there's a vast difference between them. I stayed in elementary because I just personally, preference wise, I just love the little ones. And again, like I said, I'm a firm believer in early intervention. And I think that goes um, not only from birth, but also in elementary school, getting these kids the services that they need early on is so important
Yeah.
and to
Mhm.
make them successful.
Good. I've seen that. And so this is a little bit businessy, this question, but so we have there are budgets and we have capital funds to develop and build new schools, so to speak, or new extensions onto buildings and so forth. Um, to add this new pre-K. Do you think that this is going to actually possibly next year or lead into the following year to really tighten school budgets, especially those like from the big six, like the big cities around us? Um, do you think that they're really going to struggle to come up with this capital, and it's going to really fall on the taxpayers and hurt them to really do this expansion correctly? Or do you think that space already exists and they can just kind of run and start going?
I'm not 100% positive because business is not my
Right.
side, as you know.
Right.
He handles all the business. I don't.
Mhm.
But I think in the big cities and the big six, I think preschool is included and incorporated at that level. So I don't think it's going to be that much of a stretch for them. I think it's more of the smaller towns and villages that are just starting to incorporate them, where we're seeing space is an issue, staffing could be an issue.
Do you think that you'll find help from like BOCES and places like that where they'll supply educators that are at the pre-K level or and space as well, where students start at maybe a BOCES type school and then they come in, or do you think it's just going to be every district is going to have their own pre-K?
Yeah, from what I see, it looks like districts are kind of housing their own pre-K. I don't know if they really need to outsource through BOCES for, staffing purposes. I
Right.
think they could, hire that on their own. But again, like you said, there is the budget to look at and, to make sure that they have the funds available for that.
Sure.
So I'm sure they'll get assistance from the state like they always do, because I believe that's probably where the big push is coming from.
Now, being that you're a special educator, so this shift to pre-K, it's not only for SPED, it's also for regular ed, correct?
Yeah, it's
So it's both. It's
yes.
for all students. Are you seeing a lot of teachers that you know were working in elementary ed becoming excited because they actually get to work with the little ones now that pre-K is coming? Or do you find that some people are a little bit um you know with change, it's very like, whoa, we don't like, people don't like change. And so do you see that change is difficult, or do you see that people are excited to go?
I think people are. You're always excited about little ones, right? Like
Right.
I think teachers walking around the building, seeing the little kids, they're always excited. They always want to say hi and wave, and the bigger kids there are also excited about it. I think the problem, though, in terms of them being able to work with them, is like the certificates, like you said before. I know how it worked when I went to school back, in the ancient times, where I got pre-K to 12, but that was through special education. My elementary degree is only, I believe, K to 6. So I think you have to get a specific, um, I forget what they're called,
An extension.
an extension, exactly.
Understand, true certification.
Yeah, for pre-kindergarten.
I think that the state will probably grant um, teachers like yourself that without a problem, the extension, because with the regular, if you have your K to say 5 or your K to 12, they're going to give you the pre-K extension, and you may not even need the extension. I don't know, because you are going into pre-K. Um, are there curriculums developed for pre-K yet?
Yeah, there are. Again, because it's not state mandated, I guess, preschool or
Right.
pre-kindergarten yet. I don't know how specific those state standards are for pre-kindergarten, but I know they are out there.
Do you see that the teacher, do you already see teachers who are going to be moving, say, next year and into the following year into the new pre-K setting? Are you starting to see, um, teachers, they raising their hands saying, "Hey, I really want to do this," and they're moving from one building to another or from one classroom to another because they want to be with the little ones?
I haven't seen it in the district I'm in um, yet, but I know that they are very slowly, all districts are slowly kind of introducing this concept and starting it slow, I think, because of budget reasons and to make sure it works. I know a lot of these districts are having lotteries because they're only offering like maybe one or two pre-kindergarten classes.
Wow.
So you have, a whole town, a whole,
Right.
city, and they are doing the lottery system to have your child in the public.
How is this going to impact the private schools that offer the pre-K programs?
I think for now they're safe because I think they're kind of they're not really. We have a dog. I think that they're not really. Sorry.
That's okay.
They start. I think for now, I think the private preschools are pretty safe because we're starting out slow and it's being introduced slowly into the public schools. But I do foresee in the future that there's gonna be a shift. Yeah, definitely.
Are these students going to get busing, and is it all the same because they're really small, or how do you think that's going to look? What is like the logistics on that?
Absolutely, I think they're gonna need busing for that, and I know from other districts that have preschools already that they use the mini buses, the smaller buses, and they
Yeah.
believe they have car seats in the bus seats, kind of for safety
Wow.
reasons. Yeah,
That's small. Like,
yeah, they're little.
it's amazing. And what would an average day look like in a pre-K class? Kind
So
of.
there's a lot of pre-readiness skills that these little ones need to know to prepare for kindergarten because everything is moving so fast paced for these kids that kindergarten now isn't what it used to be like, 20 years ago. It's, kids are exiting kindergarten knowing how to read, most of them. And there's a big push academically for that. So preschoolers, they need to come in now with a solid foundation.
Right.
They
It's
should
like,
know their alphabets, know their numbers, have that one-to-one correspondence, be answering questions, starting to rhyme. There's so many skills to work on.
I didn't learn how that until about sixth or seventh grade when
Yeah,
I was going. So
that was like seriously,
Yeah.
that was like first grade when I went though. But it's we're kind of pushing back in that
Yeah.
earlier on, kids are being asked to know a lot more.
Now you hear all the time that COVID and this and that and all these different things created a lag or created problems for students. Do you actually think that that's a fact, or do you think that it did have an effect on students, or what are you thinking about that? Or how's your feeling on that, at least?
I do. I think it did have a very huge impact on kids. I think socially and emotionally, it really hit hard for a lot of them, especially the ones that were already in school. To kind of have that routine and that structure taken away from them and, the interactions every day with, other friends and other peers. I think that was a big shock. And I mean, just think about those kindergartners, like a group of 5-year-olds that started out
Right.
their educational career on a Zoom link.
It's a lot.
Like that's, definitely, I think it impacted them.
Yeah. I remember when I was working, we worked through that switchover, and let me tell you, from a technology standpoint, we really we had a lot to do.
Yeah.
We did. We to take everybody from, um, yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. It wasn't extremely hard, but the objective of being ready for it was another issue.
Right.
And so I think that now a lot of um, and I read there's an article going around in Money Magazine, one of them that educational technology actually takes value away from the classroom. And so I'm not sure if that's a lasting piece from COVID because everything was educational technology at that point when we had, and we still use systems like the Renaissance, their e-data system and their e-student system, and um, you know, you had these different portals that were built and money that was spent, and now they're just kind of left there, for they really, I guess they can't collect us, but they can take up a lot of computer space. So that was a problem that we saw, and ed tech definitely was a big thing at that point, and I still believe it is. But I think that as a technologist and a technology expert, I think that we just have to find new ways to help you guys in the classroom to make that connection to help you know enhance technology. So, for instance, if you're working with a special needs student, we could bring in the like the augmented learning and um, the different virtual type systems that adapt. They're like adaptive systems where they learn where the students are at, and that's how they kind of gear themselves um, to work at the student's pace. And I, think that's a good thing. But so here comes a big one. Uh, the COVID kids. We're just going to talk about them just one more, a little bit. What is their future going to look like when they graduate? Because they're what? They're middle schoolers now.
The COVID kids in 22, so they're about mm, some of them were in middle school.
Okay. So do you think that has created some anxiety in them, and it's kind of a learned thing because they had to go from being home for 2 years with us and with their parents and the safety of their home out into the world, and it's now driven a shift in how their behavior is in terms of finding work and understanding kind of how the world worked because they lost, they lost all this time, and it kind of put them back sort of by 2 years of exposure to the world. Do you think that that's actually the case, or do you think that they've kind of just picked up and carried on?
I think kids are pretty resilient, and I think most of them have picked up and carried on. I think, some, maybe struggle a little bit more with it, but um, I do think the world is different though. And I think because of COVID, I think everything is more technology based. And I
Mhm.
think they kind of have a leg up on us old timers because,
Right.
you know, they are just so much smarter and so much quicker on computers and everything. So I think, they're in a good spot, educationally for that, but emotionally, I don't know. I think it's going to be hard for them. I think, you know, going out to a 9 to 5 job, I think is tough for some people. And, especially these kids, I don't think um, a lot of them have the work ethic to do that. I feel like
It's
they
hard.
kind of lost some of that in COVID.
Yeah. Now, AI. Here we go. Uh, Pre-K kids can or any grade um, How do you feel about AI? Do you think it should be in the classroom or not? Or how do you see that? And wait, I just want to add one more thing, just as a thought. I have this idea or this theory that if you were to print out instructions, just as you would with like Chat or Claude or any of the other big large language models, and then you were able to take that information and transfer it to another skill, is that learning with AI, or is that, how do you feel about that idea um, in terms of students using AI to learn? Or do you think that it's just a complete kind of like he gives the answers and somehow needs to be blocked out of school?
Um, I think it'll have a place. I don't think it's going anywhere. I think it's just
Right,
getting started. I think we just, with everything, it's trial and error, trying to figure out where to fit it, how to fit it. I know a student who, will go home, do their homework, not understand it, ask AI for help,
right,
and AI will explain it to them. If they don't understand it, they'll be like, "What do you mean?" And they could simplify it for them.
right,
And I think some kids learn better, that way, or have learned how to make it work for them. Instead of sitting there listening to someone, explain it in a way that doesn't make sense, AI is another
right.
option that can kind of maybe simplify it, or, break it down, or give an example that makes sense.
I think that you need to switch into technology and be with us on our side.
I love AI. I mean, Chat GPT is my best friend. So,
I used to be, just
yes,
so everybody knows. Um, and then
more accurate answers from
yeah,
Chat.
and then my last question and my most probably the biggest one: if you had the opportunity to teach pre-K with the fact that you're going to transfer your tenure and your seniority and all these different things with you, and it wouldn't bother them, you wouldn't have to be retenured and all. Would you go to pre-K, or are you happy with what you do now?
um, Gosh, that's a hard one. I absolutely love what I do now, and I don't think um, I would want to change. But those preschoolers, I think I definitely I would want to try it. I definitely think I would try preschool. My only thing is I don't know if I could, spend all that time on the carpet now that I'm older with my bad back. I don't think I'll be able to get up too much. But I mean, they're like sponges, and they want to learn, and they're excited about learning, and unfortunately, as kids get older, they're not as excited, and there's a lot more pushback um, onto teachers nowadays from the kids.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
so there's a difference. It's exciting with the little ones because every day is a new day.
You guys, you heard it here first, firsthand. We have special education teacher and my wonderful wife, Miss Amy Sabol. We thank you for coming on, and we appreciate your always willing to help out, and also the work you do. We thank you for the work you do because special education is by far not easy at all. And it probably could be sometimes overwhelming, especially now that the summer's coming up. You get a lot of regression next year. Um, we thank you guys because all the work you do. So everybody, thanks for watching The Cognitive Edge, and we hope you enjoy this video as well. Tomorrow we have our special guest. This would be our special guest. Tomorrow we're gonna have our special surprise guest, who is a pretty important player in the library industry and game. And this person, hopefully, you'll get a lot just like you do from Amy. Thank you for watching. Have a great day. Bye bye.